people in the future. There we go. All right, we're ready to roll, people. Hello, inventors and entrepreneurs. My name is Andrew Krauss. I'm one of the co-founders here at Inventor Groups of America, and we got Mr. Stephen Key over there too. I'll adjust my camera a little bit. It's a little weird. So Stephen and myself are going to help you get some clarity on turning your ideas into products. Because there is a difference between just coming up with an idea and then turning it into a product that ends up on store shelves. Before we get going, type your name into the chat if you're new here and write "I'm new" in all capitals so we can welcome you in a little bit. That would be great. Also, for everyone, we would love to hear where you're from, what state or country you're from. And so going over to the chat, it's at the bottom of the screen. Click on that and type in what state or country you're from and anything else you want to say. Hi to everybody. That would be great. So IGA Inventor Groups of America was founded by Stephen Key and myself. Stephen, raise your hand again, just in case there you go, that dude right there. Um, it was founded by Stephen Key and myself to teach individuals how to best commercialize their product ideas, as well as strengthen and support inventor groups throughout the nation. As many of you know, Stephen and myself also run inventRight, where we coach inventors to license their products as well as license products for them through our Gateway program. Today, we're going to talk about how to help you avoid common pitfalls so you can move forward with clarity on your projects. This is a supportive environment where you can learn how to move forward amongst your fellow inventors. Yes, we have a coaching and agenting service at inventRight. However, everything we do here at IGA Inventor Groups of America is free. Yes, I said free. That is a good word, isn't it? Free, especially these days. IGA has also a directory of local and regional inventor groups on our website. If you're located near one, we highly encourage you to join. Inventor groups, not that many of them left, but if there is one near you, it's kind of cool to hang out in person with other inventors. So I encourage you to do that if there's one near you. Please do not disclose anything that is confidential and not already publicly available. This meeting is being recorded and will be harnessed on our website and our YouTube channel soon. If you have any questions for us, you can type them into the chat as they come to you. We'll be doing Q&A throughout this meeting, and actually we'd like to jump off into some Q&A if you guys have enough questions. If not, Steve and I will pick some topics to talk about, but please start typing in some questions on anything to do with inventing if you can into the chat. Go down, click on chat, start typing your questions. No such thing as a dumb question. Steve and I always know how to make it useful for not just the person asking the question, but everyone else who've been doing this for a long time. So in the 25 plus years, Stephen and I have been running inventRight. We've learned more than a thing or two about licensing, and we want to share our experiences with you today. So thanks for being on with me, Stephen. This is going to be a good one, I think. I always say that though, but I think it is always a good one.
You
People
always
tell us
say
that.
that, Andrew,
I
but I
do. I
think
say
we
that
always
every
have a good
time.
time.
I say, but it is. We're going to make it a good one, people. And part of making it a good one is you guys asking questions into the chat. Now, before we get going, we're going to do a whole hour of helping you bring your products to market and talking about that. And then we have a bonus session at the end, 30, 45 minutes with Kevin Prince. Kevin, raise your hand. So Kevin's a patent agent and he files patents for people. So you can ask your patent questions. So let's,
I
if it's more strategic oriented, you're welcome to ask some strategic patent questions during this hour. But if you got like serious patent questions, patent attorney type patent questions, I would keep those until the end of the hour. Yeah.
I think why we have such a great group here is because you guys are waiting for us to stop rambling on so you can get to Kevin Prince afterwards and ask all those great questions for free. That's what I think. And I would do the same thing, you guys, because these patent attorneys or patent agents, these guys are expensive. But Kevin's here. He's a great guy, and you'll get to it, and you're going to be able to ask him whatever you want, and really get the questions answered
You
because he knows what he's doing.
can suck all that information out of him for free.
That's what I would do.
And he's happy to help out. Okay, we got the first question. So first of all, let me read where some people are from because this is cool. Let's see if anybody's. We got LA from Jacksonville, Florida. We got Kevin from Massachusetts. Uh, we have Shivaji from an Inca group, Dana, your group, in the DC area. Dwayne from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and James from Los Angeles. And then we have Gerald if I get any of these wrong, don't give me a hard time. Gerald Brown, he's all new, so great. Welcome, Gerald. Um, D. Rue, second time, sort of new. Grateful for you. D. Rue from Seattle. Is from Seattle. We have a skateboard training product. Very cool. Very cool. And we got a bunch of other people here, but we do have some questions, Stephen. So let's jump in.
Okay.
Um, let's see. Page down to the first question here. Okay. First question is, can we present our products to Walmart and Costco? Can we present our products to Walmart or Costco? Well, first, because this is an IGA meeting, just to make it clear, because there's always new people, there's two paths you can go down. You can go down the licensing path. You license it to a big company. What does that mean? You rent your idea to a big company. It's their money, it's their workers, and it's their manufacturing. You're not running a business. You don't need to raise funds. You're dumping, it's not a really nice way to put it, but you're dumping the whole thing on them. And they're doing all the work. But you got to do the
I
work to
like that
close
word.
that deal, to do a licensing deal. I mean, it's kind of cool. And then the other path is I'm going to start my own business. Usually, on most products of any significant value to start a business, you're going to need at least a couple $100,000 at the very least, if not a lot more. And that's the venturing path. So, licensing and venturing. We'd be happy to talk about both of them today. So, if you had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and created a product, Stephen, and you've got inventory, could you call up Walmart and Costco? You could. Now, do they want to deal with you if you just have one product and you're making and selling it yourself? Kind of tough. Kind of tough.
Well, Andrew, you know what it's like? It's like playing in the NFL on Super Bowl Sunday and you haven't even thrown the football.
Right.
Walmart, I was a Walmart vendor with one of my ideas, and at that time, they wanted to make sure I'd been in business for a couple years, and they wanted to see if I was in at least 1,000 stores because they were really making sure I knew what I was doing. Because
Mhm.
once you become a a Walmart supplier, you are in the big leagues. So if you're not really ready, they're not really ready for you.
Yeah. Now, if you wanted to license and see your product in Walmart or Costco, all you do is you license to a company. Let's say you're doing a camping chair, and there's two companies selling camping chairs in Walmart. You license to that manufacturer that sells to Walmart. You're in Walmart, and now they're not evaluating you and your business. And are you funded? Can you deliver on time? Are you a good company? Do you have a whole product line? Now they're evaluating that big company you license to. And they're like, oh, you're already in the store. Okay, let's take this new product. So there's a big difference between those two. So hopefully that was helpful. That was from LA. Was their initials?
Thank you very much.
Can we present our products to Walmart and Costco? Yes. And there's two different ways you can do it. You can try to license it to the vendors that sell there, or you can go direct if you're manufacturing and selling it yourself. Um, let's see what else we got here. Okay, this is from Brandon. From the YouTube video about having trouble licensing products, why do you think it becomes so difficult now compared to when companies wanted ideas during COVID? What changed? Stephen, I know you probably want to address this one.
Yeah,
This video you did, right?
Brandon's asking the same. Hey, Brandon, I'm glad you're here. Brandon asked the same question on our YouTube channel, and Brandon joined us I think yesterday when we did a webinar on how to get into companies. So I'm here to tell you, you guys, and Dana will have Dana come on in a minute and give her perspective. Companies need new ideas. That will never stop. They have to have new, and in fact, new is more important today than it ever has been. I went to a trade show, the hardware show in Las Vegas, and the first thing everybody was telling me, every buyer wants new. So don't think that's ever going to stop because the appetite for new in the United States, fortunately, I guess you could say unfortunately, but fortunately, it's huge and it's really great for us. Okay. But why is it harder today to get the companies? And that's what we talked about. And I'm not going to go into too much detail here. It's very simple. It's gotten very crowded. It's easier today to get to people. So not only are you trying to get to people, but 1,000 other people are trying to get to them too. So The goal is to how to stand out. And that means you have to take your game and raise it up a little bit. If you're not elevating your game, you're going to get stuck with all the other people. And even though they want ideas, you're not going to get to those people. So, Dana, what's your perspective on it?
Let me unmute her here. We'll make you a
Dana, wait a minute.
co-host here.
Dana Knowles, just so if you don't know who Dana is, get to know her, you guys. She's fantastic. Cannot say enough about her. Dana runs, what's your title over there? What are you, the director of Gateway? I don't know. I think she's the goddess
Well,
of goddess of
it
Gateway. I think we
it
should call her.
it depends what hat I'm wearing on what particular day.
Okay.
So, but the director of Inventor in Relations,
I like goddess of Gateway better.
Goddess of Gateway, I'll take
I
it.
like
I'll
that better.
take it.
And
Um,
Gateway is where Dana and the team calls companies all day long. That's all they do is call companies. They do more than that, but they're pounding down the doors for you guys. And Dana, so why is it so hard to get a hold of companies today?
I think you're spot on with, I mean, we're bombarded, with 100 emails a day and 100 messages coming at us, and you can only imagine some of these people in these larger companies get probably three, four, five times as much as we do as kind of regular people. I think standing out, and I've always said, if I'm going to use LinkedIn, I'm going to, oh gosh, I hate to even say this, but I'm going to very professionally stalk them a little bit. That doesn't mean like be creepy stalker. That just means I'm going to look and see, are they active on LinkedIn, and I'm going to introduce myself in a professional way. People tend, am I going to like their responses? And so, it's about making that relationship with somebody and then getting noticed. And we always say it's standing out and not being the same old that they get. So, I don't know that it's harder. I think it's just more time consuming, which then we think is hard.
Yes,
It's just more, you have to put a little bit more effort
yes.
into it.
And and that's part of the problem, you guys, because I know how it feels when you're reaching out and you're getting ghosted. And you're thinking, wait a minute, they want ideas. I know they want ideas. I know they're taking ideas, but why aren't they responding to me?
Yeah.
And that's very frustrating. And you think it's you, or you think it's your product. You're going, all this stuff's going through your mind. But you have to realize, and I think what Dana is going to talk a lot about, and we talk about this every Wednesday at 5 p.m. on another webinar that we do, how to really stand out, how to toughen up, how to get a tougher skin today, right? And how to keep going at it, and how to not get discouraged. Because the minute you get discouraged, you're like, forget it, I want to do something else. Or, hey,
Hmm.
I'm gonna venture. That's what happens. This is so hard. I'm going to venture now, and that's a whole nother can of worms. So anyway, we'll talk more about that, Brandon. Call me because I know your frustration. I don't want you to be frustrated. Call me anytime. You got my telephone number. We'll talk more about it.
Yeah,
But
we don't want to rehash everything we talked about yesterday,
now,
but I just want to give a 2 second overview. Uh, Steve and I have been doing InventRight for 25, almost 26 years now. I mean, there was a time where people were saying like, "Oh, should I send a fax or should it always be a FedEx, document?" Because, people just weren't emailing PDFs and stuff back then. That was a long time ago, right? So back then, companies weren't nearly as open to ideas as now. They're way more open to ideas as now, which is a little confusing because at the same time, we're saying it's hard to get to people. So even though more companies, way more, like 20, 50, 80% more, it's like, I don't know the exact percentage, of course, but it's way bigger. But there's so much freaking noise. You guys have a lot of noise in your
but
life, and it's about cutting through the noise.
but one other thing too, you guys, and I had this talk with Dana today, or maybe it was even Chad. Um, a lot of these companies have been working with inventors in the past. And and because of that, they probably have had some great experiences, and maybe they've had a couple that weren't so great. So what they've been telling us is that most of the ideas they see are not a good fit. And we talked a lot about that yesterday. And because of that, they've got in their mind when they hear inventor a little bit, sometimes that's why you might want to go back and say product developer. They're thinking in their mind, you're going to show me something that's not a good fit. You're going to ask me a lot of questions. You're going to probably it's not going to go anywhere. So you've got to step it up a notch and you've got to do stuff to separate yourself from everybody else. And that's not that difficult. And here's one other tip that I
No,
didn't say
no.
yesterday. On your email signature, do you look like a company or do you look like you're working out of your home? Please look at that. Because if you look like you are working out of your garage, that's probably something you need to kind of fix a little bit. And that's not hard to fix. I'm not saying go out and, set up a company or whatever. Come up with a clever name. Make sure you have your telephone number, your email, your LinkedIn. Have all the information so they can get to you quickly and do it, design it in such a way it looks like you're in business,
Hmm.
right? And that way they'll treat you a little bit different. That's no different than going to a trade show and everybody's wearing a jacket and you come in there wearing tennis shoes and shorts. They're going to treat you a little bit differently. So that's one thing I did not mention yesterday, but I would always do that. Look the part. That's even your LinkedIn account, your outreach, emails, and your signature. Do all that.
And it doesn't cost you a dime. I mean, like
Uh,
Stephen Key, product developer, Stephen Key Designs. This is your email signature. Stephen Key, you're like, oh, I don't want to get my own domain. Stephen Key Designs at Gmail has a phone number, has maybe your picture there, looks kind of nice. You do a company logo if you want. That's really not necessary, your picture. And maybe a link to your LinkedIn. You look professional. It didn't cost you a dime. Do that. Don't send from your email happybeach@hotmail.com. You know, I saw somebody had that email the other day. It wasn't specifically that, of course, but don't do that.
okay. What
Okay.
next, Andrew?
So next was from I don't know how to pronounce the name TSO. So maybe is how you pronounce it. Um, and we're going to do broadly. It says, how does InventRight work with people from Europe? So at InventRight, we've had students and clients in over 65 countries, but so I'm going to broaden that out. Forget about InventRight for a second. You can invent from anywhere. I had this one woman on she was a coaching student of ours. She was on a French Polynesian island. The entire island had 1,000 people on it. And she said, well, I don't know if I can do this. I live on this island. I'm very isolated. Doesn't make any difference. I don't care if you're in Miami or Los Angeles
Yeah.
or a French Polynesian island with 1,000 people. I've some people in the Midwest, in the United States. Oh, in my city, nobody's doing anything. I live in a city with 900 people and everybody's. I'm like, so what? Doesn't make a difference. So I want to tell you with licensing, you can do this from anywhere and you can seriously do it on a budget too.
Yeah. Can I talk about that for just a minute? You guys, you know what
Sure.
matters? It's a good idea. Let's get down to basics here. A good idea is a good idea. A good idea will open every door. And sometimes we forget that. We think we have to do whatever, but really a good idea, and when I mean a good idea that is unique, different, and it's something your customers or something your potential licensee customers are going to want. And I'll give you a great example of that. Her name is Veronica. If you if you're connected with her on LinkedIn, she is amazing. She licenses idea almost every other week. She's so good at this. She's not a professional. She didn't go to school, but she targets two companies, basically, maybe two to three, and those are her clients, and she feeds those companies. She's not great at reaching out. She doesn't like to do that. She just found three. She looks at their product line and just sends them good ideas. She's very good at it, you guys. So it's not sometimes what you think. And I'm going to talk a little bit later about how to make your ideas even better. And I'll talk about that if we have time later today. Okay.
Okay. Dana might like to answer this one. Uh, Dano wrote, recently I heard you speak about issues using LinkedIn to contact people. Could you speak more about this? So it's a great tool, Dana, but it's not a perfect tool. It's not the only tool you should use. So do you want to talk about reaching out to companies when you're licensing using LinkedIn and any issues with that?
Well, I'm going to tell you exactly when it's appropriate to use LinkedIn. I mean, I'm a big phone call person. I'm going to call the company first. Then if I can't get through to anybody because the gatekeeper, the customer service person doesn't know where to send me, then I'm going to go to LinkedIn. It just happened to me this morning. Reached out to a company. They gave me another number, reached out to that person. She couldn't help me. So I got on LinkedIn and I reached out. I went down and searched. There's 100 pages of employees on this LinkedIn page, huge company. I just started reaching out. Well, what I actually did, I went to the actual page of the company and I looked at their post and I see what they're posting and then I see who's commenting on it. And did they like it? And I look at that and then what's their title? Okay, well, this person's active on LinkedIn. This post was from 3 days ago and he clicked on it. He's active, probably active on LinkedIn. He has the right title. I'm going to send him a quick, I'm going to follow him. I'm going to send him a quick note. I did that with about 25 people at the company. I got a response back saying, this is the person you want to reach out to. She's the one who takes care of everything. This is her name and this is her email. So it does work. It does work.
Good.
But we can't put all our eggs in one basket. I was talking about that last night about some people like LinkedIn, some people like phone calls, some people like text messages, some people like email. You just kind of got to try everything until you find, which one they like.
We touched upon this a little bit last night, but I want to dig a little bit deeper today because I started thinking about this. You guys, the program gateway, Dana, Chad, Brad, and Claudia, that's all they do all day is call companies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what they do all day, and they get paid to do that. That's their job, and they're very good at it. But I started wondering why are they so good at it, and all the rest of us are kind of struggling with this a little bit. Well, number one, they're not pitching their own product. You're pitching your own product.
Mhm.
And because of that, you're kind of emotionally attached to it. And because of that, you might be a little hesitant to call companies. Or am I saying the right thing? Where the group, they do it every day. It's natural to them. And they know when they call a company, they're going to send them another one probably next week. So to them, it's just a job. But here's the other thing, too. You have to realize, and because they've done so much of it, they know every question that company's going to ask.
Pretty much.
And they're confident. They know every question. So if they're never going to get stumped. They're never going to stumble. They're not going to stumble. So that's confidence. So that's the other thing you have to recognize. From an amateur to pro, you just have to do a lot of it, which is something that a lot of us really don't want to do, and I don't want to do it either.
Well,
But the other thing too, I want to mention, they get really excited about it. And I didn't mention this yesterday. I've never seen a group of people get so damn excited about getting into a company because they send me an email every day when they get one in. And I mean, I thought like bells are going off and like confetti is falling down from the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always wondering because it is hard to do and they're celebrating. And that's the way we celebrate. And you should celebrate too.
yeah.
It's not a licensing deal, but it's the door to that licensing deal. Yeah.
Can I
And I,
talk about that for a second, Stephen? One thing I noticed, we've been coaching inventors as well for 25 plus years. And I always say you got to celebrate all those little milestones along the way. If you only celebrate when you're at the top of the mountain, I got a licensing deal, you're screwed. You're not going to have the energy to keep going. You got your first great sell sheet done. You filed your first PPA. You got into a company and they said, yeah, you can send me a sell sheet. You made your list of companies. Maybe you got some interest, but you got to celebrate all those milestones. And it's not standing at the top of the mountain with the licensing deal. You will not enjoy the process. You'll hate it every step along the way if you don't acknowledge to yourself, I did something I've never done before, or I did it in more volume than before. You got to pat yourself on the back. And when we have students and they have a coach, the coach can say, "Oh, you're doing great." And they're like, "Really? Oh, but that one company didn't like it." People tend to focus on the negative stuff. So you need to know what to focus on. I think Dana wanted to speak on that.
I just want to say, I want to share the reason why we get so excited. Chad, Brad, myself, Claudia, we are all inventors. We know the feeling and the emotion and what it's like to just get the excitement of getting your product in front of a company. I know that whether they say yes or they say no, or they're interested or they come back with questions, it's so exciting for us over here. We celebrate it and we know before the client even knows, and we celebrate it with each other. We have this separate, chat that we have, a Google chat that it's just for the four of us. And we're always sharing back and forth. Like, you won't believe what happened to me just now. And we share each other's experience. It's like a little support group over here for getting in. But we know what it's like because we're all inventors, and every single one of us has been where every single one of you is at some point.
Well, you know what else you said, Dana, that I hadn't thought about? You're not doing this by yourself.
No.
You guys, and I tell you, a lot of you are probably doing it by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are, you might consider in the future maybe finding a partner. I've always had partners,
Yep.
and we kind of help each other stay on track. We help each other. Maybe they do something I don't like to do, and they do something. We kind of push each other. And you guys, you have to stop telling your spouse too, because it will drive your spouse out of your mind. And before you know it, they're going to want to leave you. Don't do that, you guys. It's really bad. It's bad for you. It's bad. And I used to tell this story when my wife used to get home from Gallo, we'd climb in the bed and I get my big sketch pad. And I go over all my ideas with her. What a dumb thing to do. You guys, you got to separate that. So I do think being around like-minded individuals, people that can support you and keep you motivated is not a bad idea if you don't have someone. And that's what we're trying to do here. And that's what we try to do online with everything we're doing is say, hey, look, you're not alone. We've all been there. We're all going to be there again. And we're all going to celebrate when we win. And that's one thing InventRight is known for. If you win, we all win, regardless. The whole industry wins when one person wins. So we're big believers in shining a light on people that have gone through that journey because it's not an easy journey to go through. Okay, what next, Andrew?
We got a good one from Deru here. He's got a skate related product. I think he mentioned that earlier. Wave your hand there. I think you're there you go. And I have some comments on this, and Stephen, I think you might have some comments. Dana might as well. He wrote, I had trouble licensing the product to manufacturers, so we're ready to actually produce our product. How can we get seed money for the patent search, patent legal, and first run of production? The financial guys I've met with want to see sales or pre-sales, but we can't do that without the protection. What options are available for creative funding? So I want to make a broader statement here. If every one of our members that we teach people to license, every time you can't license something, you say, well, and this isn't really a commentary on you, Deru. I'm just kind of expanding it on that we can be addressed you more specifically. If every time you're an inventor and you're licensing products, and you're like, I'm going to license this product, big company, their money, their workforce, their distribution. You can't do that. You immediately go, well, I will do whatever for this one product. I am going to quit my job. I'm going to try to raise a $500,000 just to kind of get going. And God damn it, if I can't make this product, if the guys don't want to license it, I'm going to start my own business. That's not necessarily the right attitude. Now, Deru might want to start his own business, but another model, Deru, is like, oh well, I approached a bunch of companies to try to license a skate product. I'm going to come up with skate product number two, and I already presented it to 10 of them. I'm going to send them a new one. I'm going to stick with my licensing business model. I'm not going to sacrifice my entire life to venture a product and try to raise funds
Right,
because God damn it, I know I'm right about this product.
right,
Now, if you're excited about running a business and you're real about that and you talk to other people that have launched skate products and they understand the market and they're real with you, they're like, dude, this you don't know what the hell you're doing. Here's what it's really like. And you listen and you're like, yeah, I'm down with that. But most inventors, when they listen to what's really involved in running a business, they're like, hell no. I ain't do, but they have no freaking clue. And they'll usually want to do what's right in front of their face. For you, Deru, it's intellectual property. I got to just get over this one hump, but you're not looking down. You might be. I'm not going to say you're not. You're not looking down the entire path. Now, other people are like, well, I could manufacture 5,000 units and they got a garage with 5,000 units and they're afraid to make calls to retailers to sell the product. So to summarize, and then I'll let Stephen talk because I can see he's chomping at the bit to say something. Um, you need to think about what your model is. If you're like, hey, I'm a professional soccer player and that's licensing, it's like, well, I couldn't do that, so I'll be a professional football player. I'll do venturing. They're two completely different animals, the same product, but they're two completely different paths. So you got to be real with yourself about both those paths. Go ahead, Stephen.
I also think that sometimes when we listen to a company and they tell us what they need, we think we have to do it. That's ridiculous. Well, you need a patent. No, you don't. I hear that all the time. A company might say, hey, you come back when you have a patent. That's ridiculous because they're not going to defend it in federal court. They might miss the market if a patent ever issued. And trust me, you can't protect anything with one patent. You're going to need multiple patents. And at the end of the day, whoever wants to go to court and defend it. So when I hear that from companies, that's just not true. That means they don't want to work with you. If a company's saying to you, hey, we want market demand, we want you to sell some, show that people want it. That's a fair question to have, but I wouldn't go ahead and start a business just because one company wants it to be easy. I wouldn't do that. What I would do is try to create market demand by showing it to a buyer, then bring it back to the company. So if a company, so be careful what they tell you. You know what they would really like? They would like for you to do everything. They would really like for you to spend all your money on patents. They would like for you to spend all your money on Amazon launching a company. They'd like for you to spend 5 years running a business that's doing well, for them to take it over and just plop it in their distribution and life would be rosy. That's what they would like. But you guys, that doesn't make sense for us. Because really, to play the game, for anybody to be successful at an inventor, is to stay in the game long enough to where you have an idea that takes off. Because all ideas aren't going to take off. But if you're spending all your time and money and all your work on one idea, there's a very good chance if it does not work, you won't do it again.
Well, you might have mortgaged your house and home. Here, I'm gonna
Your
unmute him so
wife
he
might
can
have
take
said,
a look.
hey, this is enough.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
I think what you do is play the game that you know how to work. Play the game that works for you. Play the game that most of the companies will play with you. And that what that really means is show them a good idea, present it correctly, understand some of the issues that might happen, maybe some cost, maybe know a little bit of market demand, maybe a little bit about manufacturing, have a great point of difference, but really have a product that their customers are going to love.
And
That's it, you
and
guys.
and Stephen,
That's it.
I'm not saying that nobody should start a business, guys. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that 95% of the inventors I talk to, when they say, "Well, I'm going to start my own business," because nobody wanted to license it, that they have no I when I tell them what's really involved, they're like, "Oh." you know, but
Mhm.
maybe Diru's like, I've always wanted to own my own skate related
Well,
business. And he's like, not only do I want to launch this product and raise the funds, but I want a whole line. And I'm going to give you my biased viewpoint. If you work your butt off to get distribution from scratch, Diru, for this one skate related product, you've now tapped into all these retailers, which is very hard to do. Most of them don't want to give the time of day to a one SKU, one product company. Why wouldn't you utilize that distribution network that you worked so hard to build a whole product line now? But now it becomes a little overwhelming. It's like now you don't got one product, you got five, and now you're wrapped up in this
well,
business for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and it's a much bigger commitment than licensing, and that might be what you want to do.
well,
But be
Andrew, I
real
think
about it.
I think if you really want to venture, just be prepared. That's all. Make sure you have the finances. Make sure you find a partner that's done it before that still has a smile on his face. Make
Mm.
sure that you know enough about the problems. Make sure you have enough time. Make sure financially you're prepared that, hey, it's going to be lean for a while. And make sure you're ready to spend 3 or 4 years to get it up and running. But
Hmm.
be smart about it. Educate yourself about it. Don't let your emotions take over and go, hey, I'm going to do this. Just do your homework and be prepared because I can tell you, it's a wonderful thing. If you really think about it, do all the work and prepared, it could be wonderful. But if you don't do
Good.
that, we hear the other side. We hear the side that people have got inventory, they're trying to sell on Amazon, they can't get rid of it. And that's more common. 95% of people on Amazon fail. So we hear the other side. And all you're hearing is the success stories. So you got to be
Hmm.
careful of what you're listening to. So let's go to the next question.
Can I comment one quick second?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much for taking the question. And
You're
anyone
welcome.
in the group, I'd highly recommend talking to Kevin. with quick patents just from this group that just shaved so many thousands of dollars off of our business plan. And his time frame was much less than some of the biggest firms I met with. The thing I wanted to say, Stephen, is thank you for all your videos and everything. Because of them, I've been able to take a lot of ideas, and we do have a lot of ideas that can be licensed out. This particular one, what I've found though, and I've had several companies, so I'm not afraid of a new startup. But the problem is in the skateboard industry, it just seems like most of the people that produce products are doing it out of their house and then they get it to distribution. And most of the distributors aren't willing to manufacture. And we have access to we have someone that's saying, yes, we'll take the product at the largest retailer for skateboarding in the world. But they're saying we need to, I need to see the product, even though we've product tested. So it may just be a one-off in this industry.
Well, well, you're asking the right questions. And that's what's the most important part of all of it. Just ask the right questions, learn what your tolerance level of risk is, understand what that is, and just be prepared. You guys, I want to say something about Kevin Prince for just a minute. And we're going to have him on at the end. As you know, I've been doing this for a long, long time. And I have worked with so many IP professionals. But there's something about Kevin that is so different. I had reached out to numerous patent attorneys, licensed agents, and I asked them, tell me your success stories. Because I want to put them on my YouTube channel. Simple request. And everyone that came back to me, and I'm not going to name names, could not give me a list of successes. You guys. And I was a little shocked because some of the guys I was asking, I've known for 20 years, and they're very good at it. They're very good at getting a patent. But they couldn't tell me how that person benefited from it. And when I asked Kevin, can you provide those people? There was hundreds he could provide. And I was dumbfounded by it. And I couldn't understand why he was getting so many and they were getting so little. And the one thing I remember when interviewing a lot of Kevin's customers, clients on their YouTube channel, if you haven't watched it, please do. I never once ever mentioned I was going to talk about Kevin Prince. Not one time. They never knew what I was going to ask. But every time I asked them, tell me your story. And these stories are fantastic. You have to listen to them because they're going to help anybody that's thinking about licensing or venture, but they're telling the story of their struggle and how they did it. But when I ask them about, did you protect it? And everyone talked about how you helped them, Kevin. And I have to say, that's so rare. And you had so many of these people. I'm just dumbfounded by it. So, lesson learned. You guys, you have to find people that have your best interest. You have to find people that have a track record of doing this over and over again. You have to find people that can tell you the good things and the bad things, but make it real, but also care about your success and not just be measured on getting a patent, right? You have to make sure at the end of the day, you're taking that journey and you're getting results. That's what I'm saying. So Kevin, I had to say that to you because I was just so dumbfounded when I realized when I reached out to everybody, they didn't have the stories you have. And I don't know why, because I guess the people that you're helping, they come back and they get more IP. They come back and get more IP. They come back and get more IP. And they're doing that because they're successful with the IP. See? And the other people don't have that. So Kevin, great job. I have to shout out for that because that's really rare. I'm glad you're here to help all of us. Okay.
I got a great question from Gail Davis, but before that, I'm going to mention I see James Stivaux there. It looks like he's on the plane, and he likes us so much. He's listening to us. It looks like he's probably going to take off. Probably going to lose him in like 20 minutes once he takes off or something.
It's not
But
a
he's watching
plane.
on the plane. I noticed the air vents, and I'm like, I think he's on a plane. That was cool. Anyway, Gail has a question here, and I'm going to sometimes it's good to see slightly different points of view from Stephen and myself. And so Gail has this comment, and Stephen can comment on different aspects of it if he wants to. Gail Davis says, how do I protect myself in Africa with a licensing agreement as I only have protection for the US? I was granted my patent in April of 2023. So I mean, I kind of exaggerating to make a point here, guys. US companies, Canadian companies, European companies, could be a Chinese company even, if they have distribution in the United States and in Canada, that's mostly where you're going to license, or they have distribution in Europe. Okay. A little secondary Europe, a little harder to license to a company that just sells in Europe. But if it's a European company that's big in the US, that's the same as an American company to me. That's where your market is. Now, there's always exceptions with products. This delusion that you're going to get patents, Kevin can talk about it during his session, patents around the world. I'm going to protect it around the world, everywhere. I'm going to license it around the world. It's delusional. And I'm exaggerating to make a point. I'm not saying that some of you it might be realistic. Okay. Now, in Africa, there's certain countries, and Stephen has some exceptions. I know he's going to make some exceptions here because he's got some interesting angles, but I'm also providing another angle. There's countries that don't respect intellectual property at all, right? We know that. There's countries that don't respect patents at all, right? So, are you going to license to those countries? Are those the countries you're focusing on when you're licensing? No. You're focusing mostly on US and Canada, or companies that sell in the US and Canada. I don't care their origin, and Europe. That's mostly where almost all the licensing
It's,
deals are done.
but you know what's really interesting about this? There's a gentleman that's a good friend of ours. His name is Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali um, saw a simple problem. He came up with a simple solution. And he realized that he wanted to manufacture himself. Okay, I get it. But he didn't have the money or the experience. So what he did was license it to a company in Italy, one in France, and one who knows wherever. And he gave those countries, he found a company, he filed for patents. He got companies to make it, and the royalties were so good in those countries, he was able to now start his manufacturing in Cairo, of all
Which is
places. They don't
where he
manufacture
lives, right?
anything in Cairo.
Right.
And in fact, it was so rare for him to do that. Today, he's got over 250 employees, all women, by the way, which I thought was kind of interesting. He has 70 different products that he sells all over. He does about $10 million a year just in Egypt. But he did that by licensing to other countries, having them rev it up. But in his licensing agreement, it said that they would share the manufacturing with him. And that's when he brought it back to Cairo. And the same companies he's licensed it to now would like to manufacture in his facility in Cairo because the labor is so affordable.
Hmm. That's an unusual story, though.
I think it's thinking differently.
Right.
You guys, I think there's so many different layers of licensing, right? So there's simple stories about licensing promotional products. Okay, I get it. There's more complex ideas that maybe take a different skill level, but product licensing that we're talking about has been around since the patent system was even created. It's been around for a long time. And you need to understand it and need to play the game because I'll tell you, it's a wonderful game because it doesn't require a lot of resources and you can leverage the power of a company.
Stephen, we've been in business 25 years in InventRight, help people in over 65 countries. How many people have we had licensed in Africa?
One, Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I just to make so I think it's important to go, hey, I like what Steven's saying because he's like anything is possible. You can think outside the box, but you also need to think about what is going to be the path of least resistance. The path of least resistance when you're licensing is licensing in Europe, Canada, and the United States. And it could be to a European company that's big in the US. It could be an American company that's big in Europe. Now here's an interesting angle. I had it addresses what Gail is talking about here. Well, I only have a patent in the United States. How could I license in Africa? Well, we had a member of ours that had a US patent, And this company sold in the US, about 70% in the US and about 30% in Europe. They said, we like this product. We want to license it from you. We'll pay you in the US. We're not going to pay you in Europe because you don't have patents there. I said, well, the solution's simple. I told her, I said, just tell them if they want the US rights, they have to pay me in Europe regardless of patents. You can file a patent if you want. I'm not going to spend the money. You don't even want to spend the money, but you need to pay me. And now she's getting royalties both in US and in Europe with no patents in Europe because
It's
most people
typ-
don't bother filing patents in Europe.
well, sometimes it's typically a little less, but usually they will grant that, you guys. So let's go to the next question, you guys.
Yeah.
That was a good question.
Yeah, it was. It really was. Let's see. Oh, okay. Stephen, this is one we talk about a lot. Tim wrote, product videos, discussion on producing them in landscape or portrait mode. So you got TikTok videos, right? And it's that skinny thing, and you shot it with your iPhone. And Stephen and I used to talk about this, and then things change. Once you're at a point with, okay, so landscape or which way do you do it, Stephen, if you're recording on
Depends
your
on the
phone?
platform,
Landscape
Mm-hmm.
this way.
right? If you're on YouTube,
Don't do that.
it's going to be horizontal. If you're on TikTok, it'll be vertical.
Right.
I think she talked about a video, shooting a video with
I
a
would
demo
do
video.
horizontal myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would.
But,
Okay, now
uh,
the other question from Tim is once you're at a point with a company to send them a term sheet, what all should be included on your term sheet? Well, we don't have time to go into that, but I can speak broadly. If they don't perform, you get it back. When you're licensing, you never want to use these words. I want to sell you my patent. That is the wrong mindset. You're emphasizing the patent too much. When you're licensing, you're renting them the idea. So to do a broad brushstroke with licensing agreements, you're renting them the idea. If they don't perform, you get it back.
If you want
Right.
to do a quick term sheet, here's five things to get, I call it a yes term sheet because I don't care about a term sheet. I want to get to the licensing agreement. So I'm going to ask them five questions and they're going to say yes. And when they say yes, then I'm going to say, well, let's go to the licensing agreement. I said, do you want an exclusive? Everybody wants an exclusive. Yes. Okay. Check that box. Where would you like it? Well, we want it worldwide. Okay. Check that box. United States. Check that box. I got a yes. Okay. They might say, how long do you want it for? Oh, we want it forever. Check that box. I got some basic questions, you guys. The things that I don't put in a term sheet would be like negotiate the royalty rate. And the reason why you don't do that, you really can't do that until you see the whole licensing agreement. But if they do ask, and they will ask, and they want to know if you're nuts, I would say, look, I would like to work with you. What's appropriate to you? I'm sure we can come to some number that works for both of us. I call that the yes term sheet because I'm not really dealing with anything difficult. And the reason why you have to see the whole licensing agreement first. And then what we do, what we've learned at inventRight, we do the easy stuff first and we do the hard stuff a little bit later. And what's the hard stuff? Minimum guarantees is the hard stuff. Who owns improvements is the hard stuff. Indemnification could be the hard stuff. We deal with the ugly stuff a little later once we got some momentum going. But we could do a whole class just on negotiations, you guys, because that's something that I think at inventRight we specialize in because we've done thousands of them. But I can tell you this, you just want to have a great attitude. You want to listen and you want to come back with a proposal that makes it easy for these guys to say yes.
Yeah. This next one's for Dana, and I know her answer, and you guys are going to be surprised by it. This is from
mhm.
Matthew Miller. Are companies not accepting new submissions due to tariffs? Thanks from Las Vegas. I'm in Henderson, right next to Vegas. So Dana, I think a lot of people are thinking this, but you're on the front lines, like you're talking, you and your team are talking to tons of companies daily. And I know your answer to Stephen and myself because we asked you.
Yep.
We needed to know. So what's going on?
Yep. Absolutely. They're still open. Our team reaches out to companies every single day. We keep records of them as they're open. And we, in the past month, since this has all come out 3 weeks or month, I think we've only heard one company even mention it. And they didn't even say they weren't open. They said just right now we're open, but right now we just have to see how everything goes because of the T word, which we're not even saying it.
The T
But no,
word.
they are absolutely open still. That you know what? This isn't going to be a forever thing. Every company in the world is not going to go under because of this. Companies are actually taking, and I mentioned this last night, companies are actually, I've heard from a few that they are actually taking time to now look at new ideas because everything's a little bit slower. They're backing off just a tiny little bit, not on looking at new ideas because they know they're going to need to have these ideas. So they're even more, I think they're even more open to, yeah, we got time. Let's go ahead and look at it. Yeah. Yeah. So
Well,
no,
and
not even
there
a
was
concern.
news just last night, and you never know because it's all legal stuff, and we're not a bunch of attorneys here, But last night the International Court of Trade or something invalidated that Trump does not have the right to do any of these tariffs. That they're all now. I can't. You following all this is kind of, but that happened last night, so we'll see how
Yeah.
that turns out.
But
But
The bottom line is this, guys, real simple. I think companies might be a little bit more cautious to do things overall. I think they're thinking about having maybe taking some of that manufacturing and spread it out a little bit, which they should have done a long time ago.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think that's good for companies to not just put all your eggs in one basket in China. I also think that it won't last because it's going to destroy small companies. Google's not going away, you guys, and Apple's not going away, and all those guys aren't going away regardless. And talk about guys that are really going to get hurt are going to be those really big guys. This will not last.
Yeah.
But in the same, do not wait on the sidelines. I was telling someone the other day, don't let this be an excuse that I'm just going to wait. Because if you wait and when things do change, you're playing catch up. You want to be so good at this that when things start to heat up again, and they will, you want your idea on the top of the pile, right? So don't be on the sidelines. That's ridiculous. And we've seen this. I told someone the other day, God, we saw through COVID and we saw the recession, 2008. I've seen industries go under. I've seen companies buy other companies. I've seen everything in 40 years. This is no different.
Right.
But the part about innovation, our whole industry is built on new.
mhm.
And that's not going to end tomorrow, you guys. No way. So
Yeah.
it's just a pause, if
The
anything.
American public has an insatiable appetite more than anywhere in the world, and that's going back to why
Oh,
America is the best place to license for new, 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 new. We always want new stuff. Europeans, they're kind of more, I know, because my dad's originally from Germany and my family's from Europe and I grew up here, so I'm very American, but they analyze their purchases more carefully. We just buy, and then we work our butts
it's
off to pay
terrible
for
for
it.
the environment.
Yeah, but that's why you want a license here because we buy a ton of crap and it's a lot of people here. So, um, Herb wrote, and this is for those of you who've been watching us for a while, you guys know this, but Herb wrote because there's always going to be new folks without a patent. How do you keep a company from manufacturing without you? Why would they need you? And once they get a licensing agreement, what would be the term on the agreement without a patent? So, so Herb, you can file a provisional patent application for the giant cost of what, Stephen?
I don't
It's
know,
massive.
under $100, right?
$65. You can file a provisional patent application. You can do it in common English for $65. So you're always the
But
approach that we teach people at our InventRight business is why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you file a provisional? Why wouldn't you be able to put patent pending? But you don't have to say provisional patent pending, right, Kevin? You say patent pending just with a provisional for $65. Always do that. It's as Stephen says, that perceived protection.
but Andrew, the big question is, and I hear this all the time, why would they pay you if you don't have a patent? You guys, let me explain something if we haven't said this a million times already. Companies need new ideas, and they know they're not going to get the best ideas from their employees because those employees are watching the clock. Creative people don't create because of a paycheck. They create because this magical thing that you have. That's why you're here. That's why you think about it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You cannot stop thinking about it. You
Mhm.
put your prototype by your bedstand and you wake up in the middle of the night and you look at it. You put it on your dashboard when you're driving. You cannot stop it. You guys, that's why we do it. And those companies know that. They also know this, that it's a big world out there. And they also know that they're not going to sue someone if there's a copycat. They also know that products have a short lifespan. That sometimes if you waited to a patent issue, you'd miss the whole market. When you add all these things up, it's called open innovation. We want ideas from you guys, and we don't care if you can protect it at all. Some industries don't even care. Some industries would like for you to file, and that's why you need to file correctly to give a company the option. Because a lot of companies would like to have some perceived ownership. They like to maybe have a design patent or a PPA or a utility patent. You guys, even though I just said this, I still file patents. I will always file patents because I do believe they're great selling tools, not protection tools. They're not tools to force someone to pay you. They're tools to tell someone you've done enough work, you've thought about it, and they should work with you. It's a selling tool, not a threatening tool.
Mhm. We have to change up the meeting now, but before we do, I want to make an offer to everybody. We didn't get to everybody's questions. You guys have a lot of great questions. You guys really made this a great webinar, and we're going to continue to do that with Kevin with the patent questions. But I want to make an offer to you, but you have to follow the instructions in order to do this. So if you had a question and we didn't get to it, you can email it to me at andrew@inventright.com. Okay, I'll type it in here, meeting group chat, Andrew, Andrew @inventRight.com. Okay. You have to say, I was on the IGA meeting, Andrew, I was on the IGA meeting. You promised to answer unanswered questions. Here's my question. Email it
Oh,
to me at andrew@inventRight.com. Okay. For any of you that didn't get your question answered.
you got to get a picture. And one last thing before Kevin comes on, I want to
Oh,
say.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I want to say one thing, guys. Kevin, like I said before, Kevin Prince, he knows what he's doing. He does my work. And Kevin, I want to thank you for doing such great work because I saw what just came in with the design patent. Thank you very much. That's really important. The projects that I work on, you guys, we file a lot of intellectual property. And not only do we file here, we file around the world basically now too, don't we, Kevin? We're filing everywhere too. So he does great job. Highly recommend him. He does my work. His work is so good, and he's getting everything we need to get the deals that I'm doing. So Kevin, thank you very much for doing that.
Uh, Dana, don't say good night. We got a whole nother half an hour going on, but
I'm
that's
Take a
fine. You
picture,
set
Andrew,
the
of
link.
everybody though.
I'm taking
Okay.
off. I put my email in the
Oh,
I
okay.
mean
Got
I
it.
put my
Got it.
book, my link for my
Well,
calendar
stick
link in
around
the
for the group
chat.
picture. Only need 2 seconds. Okay.
Okay, I'll stick around for
Everybody,
a
you're
group
going to give
picture.
like a wave, a smile, a thumbs up, whatever you want. I got to do a couple pages. Okay, everybody, smile, wave. All right, here we go. Page number 1. Now I got to do the next
Andrew's actually
page.
gotten faster at this.
Page
At
number
one time, he was
2.
Yeah.
really slow at this.
Okay, good deal. We did it.
Okay.
Thanks,
Uh,
Andrew.
all right, you're welcome. I'm going
Good
to
night,
unmute Kevin,
everyone.
and we're going to do some
Stay on to get
Q&A
all
here.
your patent questions answered, design patents. Thank you, everybody.
All right, guys.
Thanks,
All right,
Stephen.
we're going to do some patent Q&A here. Let me break this chat out here. So, all right, here we go. So, what I can do, Kevin, is I can go back and see if there's any patent related questions here.
Sure.
Um, but you guys start typing in your patent related questions. So anything related to patents, Kevin's your guy. You got some free, I don't want to call it legal advice.
Yeah,
It's always
I can't
scary
say
to
legal
use that
advice,
word.
but general patent guidance.
There you go. That's a better
Your mileage may vary based on your situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's not officially legal advice. You're not retaining him as an attorney or anything. So, okay. So first one, Peter says, I have an invention that probably needs several patents. Can I put all the info in a provisional patent and divide them out later if the Patent and Trademark Office feels like it has too many independent claims? That's a good question.
That's a good question. The answer is yes. You can put anything in the provisional. There is a danger though, and that danger is that if let's say you have, just say you have 4 different invention ideas. Maybe they're related, and you a year goes by, you file a non-provisional that references the provisional, and then that non-provisional gets allowed and published and granted. Okay. In that situation, if you did not file related patents on the other 3 ideas, all of those become public probably more than a year ago, and you lose the rights to file. So you got to be a little careful about the timing. I would say generally you want all of those to be related, and you probably want to have a pretty good sense that you're going to move forward on all of them. One of the things that happens is that if the patent office thinks you have multiple inventions in one patent application, they're going to make you divide them out into separate applications. So worst case scenario, you have to say, pay for 4 patents through the patent office. But they all get the same original filing date, the benefit of the provisional filing date. So you're not losing any time. You just have to pay the patent office for multiple patents.
Okay.
You decide,
Peter writes they're all the same product, he wrote.
okay. Well, yeah, I mean, that may be the case. The patent office says, you know what, they're all similar. If you can write the claims in such a way that they have a common denominator in claim 1, you might be able to get them all on the same patent and save yourself some money.
So let me go with the crazy question here that I get once in a while. We've gotten them all over 25 years. The crazy question I get from inventors, very serial inventors, they're like, Andrew, I got a dog toy and I got a kitchen product and I got a gardening product. Can I throw those all in the same PPA? And I'm like, they're only $65 a piece. Yeah, but I work on so many products, And so is that even possible? I mean, is that just stupid or is that?
Yeah, but the problem is, like I said, if you pursue a patent on the dog toy and that PPA becomes public once the dog toy non-provisional issues, all of the other ones issued, it become public too. So you can shoot yourself in the foot. You don't want to, like I said, you want to probably keep similar patents on the same provision.
Okay.
Similar concepts on the same provision.
But if you never file a full utility and reference the provisional, it will never go public. So I guess that would be.
That's right. So if you never file a non-provisional on that provisional application that has 3 inventions described, it will expire, and it just disappears. It's as though you never filed it.
Yeah, it just seems like being maybe a little bit too cheap to me to do that sort of thing, and problematic. And if you are doing it, they need to really fully understand what you just said and the downsides. Marcel wrote, this one's a little longer. How can I have the patent office advise me why the delay and when the examiner will start working on my application? I filed a non-provisional patent over 3 years ago. That's a little bit long. With the patent office to date, I was not contacted by the examiner. I followed up with an email, but I was asked to call by phone as the only option. I am overseas and prefer to communicate by email to have a record of all communications with the patent office. So I don't know if they're a pro se filer and they're filing themselves. It definitely sounds like it.
Yeah, and you got to call because the patent office, that they don't do email. I mean, you could write a letter, I suppose, but I don't even think that would be answered. I think you call the examiner, wake up at 3 a.m. and call the examiner, whatever the time zone is. And the examiner's going to say the same thing they always say. It's on my docket. I see it here. There's a number of applications in front of you. I'll probably get to it in the spring. And there's not much you can do about that.
Can you comment on the timeline for a non-provisional? What's
non-provisionals? I tell people that
Gerald.
They can expect to wait 18 to 36 months before they hear back.
Okay.
Now, so in the meantime, you're patent pending, right? Which I like to think of patent pending as a big no trespassing sign on a piece of property that you don't own yet. That's how I kind of picture patent pending. You can be patent pending for a long time. So you're telling everybody, hey, I beat you to the patent office. There's no point in you trying to follow me to the patent office. I'm presumably first in line for this patent. But if someone sets up a lemonade stand on this property and they start to copy you, you won't be able to legally evict them from that property until the patent is issued, until you get the deed to the property, right? So if you're being copied, being patent pending isn't very great. You can speed up the patent office on utility patent applications. You can file a track 1 a track one petition, which is like an extra $1,050. And instead of 18 to 36 months, they'll try to get to it within 12 months. So that can help if it's worth the extra money. They just canceled the design patent rocket docket system, which was the only way to speed up a design patent. There was a bunch of fraud and stuff going on, I think. So I'm hoping that they're going to figure that out and bring that back. But yeah, in the meantime,
Stephen was really disappointed in that because like you got him a design patent like record time. It was crazy with the Rocket Docket program.
Rocket Docket was a good program.
Yeah. Hmm. Next one is it just says iPhone, so I don't know the person's name. What is the cost to have you submit a provisional patent for a person?
So just to go over quick patent prices, on a standard kind of non-complex product, we do provisional applications for $29.95, $2,995. That does not include the filing fee to the government of $65, but it does include the drawings. We do formal drawings for PPAs. And I work a little differently than most attorneys. If we are filing your provisional application for $29.95, then 8 months later or 9 months later, when it comes time to file your non-provisional application, I don't charge you the full price for that, which is $49.95. I just charge you the difference, which is $2,000. So filing a provisional with us kind of spreads the cost of the patent out over the year. Like I said, we include the formal drawings on provisionals, and I also throw in a couple of claims. You don't have to have claims on provisional applications, but I like to have a very broad claim. And the purpose of that is if you show it to your potential licensee or investor or whatever, I want them to look at claim one and basically get scared, like, man, if he gets this patent on this claim, we got to work with him. So I want there to be a very broad claim one, and then claim two on a provisional is everything in the kitchen sink, which is basically saying to them, look, something in here is patentable. I'm going to get some kind of patent. And so that's a strategy we use on provisionals. I know $29.95 is more expensive than, doing a legal Zoom or something where you're writing it yourself. But the way we work, where we're just adding the differential cost, we're applying the PPA cost towards your non-provisional. It kind of spreads that cost out over the year, and is about.
And to put things in perspective, guys, most patent attorneys or agents would charge $8,000 to $20,000 for a patent. Kevin's charging $3,000 for the provisional, and then another $2,000 to upgrade it to a full utility. So he's basically charging $5,000, which is extremely unusually affordable for a full utility patent. Most, I would say, what did you say the range is, Kevin? What, 8 to 20?
With attorneys, well, as a patent agent, my overhead is lower. So that's, most patent agents are lower than patent attorneys in terms of the cost. But I've heard 5 figures routinely out of patent law firms for a non.
10. Yeah, I'd say 10 is probably more common. And don't use LegalZoom if you want to go the cheaper route. We have some software on inventRight.
Yeah, you know what? And let me say something about that. The smart IP system at inventRight is pretty good. I've been pretty impressed with the applications that I see come out of that. So I think they do the job that they're supposed to do, which is basically explain how you make one of these things and how you use it. And if your PPA does that, it's probably adequate.
Let's see. This one's not really patent related. Okay, this is interesting. Peter said, "Hey, Kevin, do you work with people who write the initial patent and make the drawings, and you help put it into final form?"
So yes and no. Yes on provisional applications, but no when it comes to writing an application with a full set of claims, because the patent office has a rule that if we start working on the claims like that, and we have to take over the whole thing. So I will work. I will, if you write your own provisional and you're an inventRight student, I will do a review process where I'll make suggestions, but I don't touch claims. That's kind of sacred ground as far as the patent office is concerned. And if I am going to get into claims, I'm going to take over the whole thing anyway. So that's how we work.
Gail, about your virtual keyboard that's available in June, drop me an email at Andrew@inventRight. It doesn't sound like it's available yet. I'd like to see what that is. I'm kind of a computer geek. I'd love to look at that. Mark says, I received my publication number on December 24th. Is it okay to make a variation on my product to tailor it to a company selling a similar product, or do I need to submit my new concept? So it sounds like he's filed a patent, but he received his publication number, so maybe it's been issued, I guess, is
No,
what he means. No,
it
it's just
sounds to
public.
me like the application has been published early.
Right.
So, Mark, I would ask, have you gotten your first office action yet? Um, there's if the changes that you want to make are new, like you're adding new matter to the application, if those things were not in the original application, you can't add them after the fact. You can't add new matter to an existing application. So you would have to file what's called a CIP, a continuation in part, as a brand new application. As far as the patent office is concerned, you get a new application serial number. But now you're making a patent family. So the first patent's not going to get in the way of the child CIP application. So it gets a little bit convoluted how that works. I'd be happy to get into the details with you if you want to book a
Did
time.
I unmute the right Mark? Are you the right Mark? Because there might be more than one Mark on here. Oh, can't hear you for some reason. You're unmuted, but I guess your mic's not set up right. That's okay. You can, I changed it where you can unmute yourself later if you want to talk. I made it so you guys can unmute yourselves. Okay, can you just speak really quick, Kevin? It's really kind of a detail, but um, two things. Well, after 18 months, when you file a full utility patent and it's waiting to be reviewed and the patent hasn't been issued, you haven't been granted anything, it goes public. And sometimes I get inventors, they're like, I see the patent. Oh my God, they got the most amazing claims. Like, there's no way. I'm screwed. But they're not realizing something. Can you explain what they're not realizing and what they're getting confused
Yeah.
on?
So if you're looking at a patent from the patent office that starts with a year like 2019, that is not a patent. You got to read it very carefully. It's a patent application publication. That means they published this thing early before it was granted as a patent. And the patent office will, by default, publish your application at 18 months, even if it hasn't been examined yet. Okay. Now, here's the thing. That's okay if you're going to file foreign patents, because by treaty, we have to let the patent office publish patent applications at 18 months if the applicant is filing foreign patents. Okay, that's all under the PCT Patent Cooperation Treaty that we all signed. Most countries have signed. However, if you do not file, and you're not going to file foreign patents, when you file your non-provisional utility patent application, you can check a box that says, do not publish this application, right? And so then it won't be published. I don't know why people don't check that box. We do that by default. Like, we'll check that box. I don't want any of my clients' information released early. Why should they let everyone know what they're asking for from the patent office, right? So then if my client then later wants to file foreign patents, then we have to rescind that non-publication request. And it's very important you do that. Otherwise, your US patent will be considered abandoned. So there's some tricks there. But when you file your non-provisional, make sure your patent attorney is checking that box, do not publish, because why should you disclose all that early?
So if you see one of these published patents that haven't been reviewed by the patent examiner yet, and you see they have amazing claims, don't assume that they got all that. Like Kevin said, you said, Kevin, it starts with a year and then it's not an issued patent.
Yeah, so maybe I can share my screen here.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll do that.
That'd be great.
Oh, I have to send a request for you. You have to
sorry.
give me the power.
There you go.
That's okay. Let's see. All right, so here's a list of patents that came up. I use free patents online to do searches and get patents very quickly. See, this one here is a patent publication. It is not necessarily a patent. This is a patent. It's a 7 or 8 digit number. So that's how you can kind of quickly tell the difference. That's a patent publication. And the reason that's important is when you look at the patent publication, that's just what they were asking for originally, but they might not end up with claims like that. They might not even end up with a patent. And oftentimes when we do a patent search, we'll find both patents and patent publications. And maybe more than half the time, those patent publications never became a patent. So you don't have to worry about them from an infringement standpoint. You still have to worry about them from a patentability standpoint because they're published documents, but that is not necessarily something you have to worry about ever becoming a patent. So
Okay.
you got to look at it. You got to look it up at the patent office and see what the status is.
Cool. Next one is from Peter. Is there any disadvantage to trying to write claims on a provisional patent app? Can it limit you if you write it poorly? Yeah, it could.
So that's a really good question. What would have to happen for you to for you to be harmed by what you wrote in your provisional is that after you get your patent application allowed and granted, and then you're suing somebody, the other side would have to go back to that provisional and try to poke holes in it. And if the claims that you wrote and some of the things that you said in your provisional go against what you ended up with in a patent, it could be the case that the provisional didn't really support the patent. And so your filing date on the provisional may not count, right? So it is really, if it's generally the same, right? In other words, what you wrote in your provisional is generally the same and supports the non-provisional, you should be okay. I am not a fan of having Chat GPT or somebody try to write claims for you. I've done this myself. I've seen what it writes. It gets it about 90% there. And if you don't have an eye about how to read claims, you're probably going to miss where Chat GPT or whatever is blowing it. So I'm not a fan of that. You don't need to have, if you're writing your own provisional, you don't need to write claims. And I would just probably leave them off.
And I'll ask you again like 2 years from now, and you'll be like, "Yeah, ChatGPT does everything for me." I mean,
that may be true.
It may change.
Yeah, but right now you still have to be a skilled operator to use that for your patents.
Well, and that's a good warning. Be careful. I mean, you use it to research other stuff, but yeah. iPhone wrote, does your firm do patent searches, and if so, what's the cost?
Yes, we do. For a U.S. search, it's $595. Takes about 7 to 10 days. For worldwide searches, it's $795. And people are like, well, which one should I do? Well, it depends on where you would expect the innovations for that kind of product to be done first, really. If you have a winemaking accessory or something, you might want to do a worldwide search to pick up France. If you have an automotive product, probably a worldwide search to pick up Japan, South Korea, Germany, Italy. I'm sure there's more. But if you're doing something that we mostly do in the United States, we started it, we're the big player. U.S. search is probably fine. Here's the thing: when you do a search, you just want to make sure, if you can, to the extent that you can, that you're finding everything that could be a problem for you in the examination of your patent down the road. There's attorneys who'll say, "Oh, don't do a search because it's very unlikely we're going to find the same references that the patent office uses against you." All right, that's true, but if there's a dead ringer, like if there's a patent that has everything that you have, the patent office is going to find that and they're going to use it against you. So I would say you want to find it first.
Yeah. And this is the part that a patent attorney typically doesn't tell you, but I think Kevin does. And I'm exaggerating to make a point here. When you come up with an idea, the first thing I would do is never ever spend 2 seconds on a patent search. That's later. It could be an hour later, a day later, a week later. You always want to do a market search. Do a Google image search. If it's a consumer product, do an Amazon search. How does your product fit in the marketplace? I really don't give a crap about patents at first. Does the product make sense in the marketplace? Patents are all for naught. and completely worthless if the product doesn't make sense in the marketplace. So always do a market search first. Don't come up with an idea and immediately go to a patent attorney and go, here's my money for a patent search. And then unethical patent agents and attorneys, not Kevin, because he's very ethical, they take advantage of that. The attorney will be like, oh, a patent search came back good, and then the inventor falsely believes that the product is a good idea. No, that doesn't validate the
It
product's
just
a
means
good
it's
idea.
patentable. Yeah.
It just means it's patentable, but it doesn't mean it's a good idea in the marketplace.
I'm going to put a link in the chat to our online course on how to do your own patent search. Because I don't really care who does the patent search as long as you're doing it the right way. And this is a class where we teach you how to do that. You got to search 3 areas. Keywords, obviously, everyone knows that. But you have to search on class and subclass because you might not think of the keywords that are in the patent that you're trying to find. And then third, the forward and backward references. And so we teach you how to do that. And right now I see Udemy platform that we're on is giving my class away for $14. So it should be 65.
Pretty cheap.
But anyway,
That's pretty cheap.
grab it now, right?
Udemy always has some really, really affordable stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Dwayne Baker wrote in, everyone should read Kevin's The Average Joe's Guide to Patent Claims on inventright.com. So that is a comment in the chat. You could click on there, go to InventRight, or just search that. Just copy and paste it.
I have a link to that. I'll put it in there too.
Oh, great. Thank you.
And Albert was raising his hand. I don't know if he had something.
Yeah, sure. Albert, you guys are able to unmute yourself, so you can unmute yourself. Speaker question.
Just to say for everybody, Kevin, last time you talked about your patent program at Udemy, and I bought it when it was on sale. I watched it. I loved it. Very, very informative. The Excel spreadsheet for tracking searches is worth the price of admission on its own. So I found it very helpful, and it's just really, it builds confidence to know that I can do a complete search if and when.
Well, especially if you're prolific. I mean, save the $600 every time and learn how to do your own searches, right? I mean, that's how I got into this business. I'm an inventor, and I started doing my own searches, and it was, I just learned more and more about it. And so, yeah, it's good to know. As an inventor, it's good to know.
So just as a follow-on question, you had said something about putting a claim in there. If you do put a claim, put the second claim is throw the kitchen sink at it. Does that preempt the need to actually even do a search if you put everything in there, starting with the wheel and the gear?
No, I would still do the search. Everything in a kitchen sink claim, basically the way claims work is claim 1 is the MVP, the minimum viable product, the very simplest version of your product.
I don't need.
Hey, Andrew, you might want to mute iPhone.
Yeah, this is Jason. Jason, you're unmuting yourself, and go ahead.
Anyway, so claim 1 is the minimum viable product. It's the most general product. It's the most general way to describe your product. If it's got the minimum features, right? If you took one feature out, it's no longer recognizable as your product. That's what I want to get to claim 1. And then claims 2 through 20 can be optional items. If claim 1 has A, B, and C in it, and we add claim 2 that has the item of claim 1, further including element D, and then we add E and F and G. So I want claim 1 to be A, B, and C. And then I want claim 2 to be, the whole alphabet, right? Every optional feature. And the thing to remember about claims in a provisional is they are not going to be examined. They are not for the patent office. They are for the people that you're showing that says, hey, I wrote a professional application and I'm going to have very broad protection and I'm going to get some kind of patent out of this. That's kind of what the message is that we're trying to show. When you have to show your patent to your potential licensee, you don't want any red flags. And so that's the point of that.
Nice. Okay, so we have time for two more questions. One from Shivaji. Sorry if I pronounced your name right. And then one from Lori, and then we're going to call it a night. I know Kevin has a lot of patents to write. He keeps pretty busy. So, okay. So, next one from Shivaji, and I apologize if I didn't pronounce the name right. To Kevin Prince, when I searched on my prototyped idea, I found one publication exactly similar to my idea. However, that prior patent application is published, but it was never pursued further and no patent was granted. In view of this, can I apply for my patent for my idea? Please advise.
Unfortunately, no, because that publication can be used against you if you file your own patent application, right? So you have to be the first inventor in the world to get the patent. And if there's a publication out there, an Amazon listing, something in Google Images, something in the patent literature, a Chinese patent, anything that's published before you file can be used against you, even if it's your own patent, which freaks a lot of people out. So the fact that they didn't pursue it, shame on them. But that happens. People, a lot of these published applications end up going abandoned, and now the only use of them is to basically reject other people's patents with them.
So with that publication for that invention with whatever's covered in there, anybody in the world can manufacture, anybody in the United States because it's US patent, but anybody can manufacture and make it, and they will not be in violation because that's public domain. But what he could get a patent on is any improvement to that. So anybody can do whatever is in that application, anybody, and you won't be violating anybody else. You won't be violating that guy. But if he creates an improvement, nobody could do that improvement.
Let me throw one correction out there, Andrew.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah.
Because if there's a published patent application,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean that there was a prior patent that was granted on that.
Oh, that there wasn't, is what you're
Right.
saying.
So there may be a patent that covers
Good
it.
point. Yeah.
Right? And it may be that patent is why this guy never got his patent.
Yeah, maybe that.
Okay, so
yeah, so don't. Yeah, so what I was saying there, like that could get somebody in trouble. Actually,
Mhm.
that's like it's a good point. Yeah.
But to your point, yes, if you come up with an improvement above and beyond what was published,
If there isn't another patent, yeah.
yeah. Here's the bottom line on how to get a patent. You need some structural feature that is new that has a benefit. That's it. If I can point to that thing, some piece of your product, maybe. And here's the other thing: when the patent office, when the examiner is looking at your product, they're going to be looking at, is it useful, novel, and non-obvious? And useful is usually very easy to show. Novel means no one's done exactly the same thing, and that may be true. But non-obvious is, did you just take two things that exist already and slap them together? If you did that, then your patent is very likely going to be rejected, even though no one's ever done this combination before, right? But if there's a connector between these two things, and that connector piece makes it possible to use these together, then that will become the basis of your patent. And it is useful, and it's novel. No one's done it before, and it's not obvious because that piece wasn't in this patent, and it wasn't in this patent. It took you to come up with how to get those put together, right? And so that's kind of what we are looking for when you have two things that you're putting together. There's got to be some new structure that has a benefit.
Nice.
And that's the simplest way I know how to say it. How do I get a patent? You got to have something that's new, and it's got to have a benefit.
Nice. Okay. Very last question from Lori, then we got to call it a night. If I have a technology application, but not the manufacturing and proof of concept yet in place, should I wait to provisionally patent it, or can I file a broad provisional and extend that if I'm not ready to file the utility yet? This is a continuation of the utility product I'm pitching now. It says pet industry. It's a little confused without knowing the details, kind of hard.
I think I understand. So,
yeah.
Okay, if I had the idea of a time travel machine, and it was a box, and it has a dial with a year on it, and a big red button, and a cord that you plug in, right? Could I file a provisional on that? Sure, you can file a provisional on anything. The question is, will that provisional support the subsequent non-provisional that you're going to file 8 months later? Okay, if not, it's it's not really helping. It's not supporting your non-provisional. It doesn't count. You can't use that early filing date.
Hmm.
You have to be able to, you have to have an enabling disclosure, what the patent office calls an enabling disclosure. It enables someone who knows how to build these kinds of things on how to build your product. You have to know how to build your product. Okay. Now, if it's like a timing circuit that goes off after 5 minutes, okay, that's pretty well known. So yes, in a provisional application, I could draw a box and point to it, say timing circuit. Everyone knows, not everyone, but all electrical engineers know how to build that, right? People skilled in the art. So that would be okay. So there's a gray line there, and you can't have a black box where, you know, and then a miracle occurs and some result comes out of it, and you can't describe what's going on in that black box. You have to be able to describe how that works. If that's technology that already exists, then it'll probably be okay. But there is some nuance there. You have to work with your patent practitioner and make sure that it's an enabling disclosure. You could hand this to Joe. Joe is an electrical engineer. He would know how to build it.
Yeah.
Based on your patent application. That's what they're looking for.
I think I'm gonna, I don't know if I'm unmuted. Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to set up an appointment with you. It's something that Dana's working to pitch my I already have a utility patent. It's a continuation. Yeah, I wish I met you guys 17 years ago, if not 30 years ago, because I've been in this industry as a sneaker designer, doing patents, licensing, but way needed you guys forever because I'm in a different industry. Industrial designers are never taught this stuff, but I'm excited because I do have a technology that is in the pet industry, but I have an evolution of it with several manufacturers that are working in chemistry in a totally different field in packaging. And I've found a way to connect the two that would be marketably viable. But before I pursue these companies, I already have connections with several of them, but I don't want to disclose anything. So there's that magical black box that I don't even want to tell them what industry I'm coming from. I'm pretending it's a footwear product to just get into conversation, but I want to protect myself with that widget.
Sounds like Kevin does a good job of answering questions that is a great answer for everybody, but yours is kind of specific.
Too much. Too much.
So set up a time. I'm happy to talk with anyone for half an hour for free. I put the link in there to my online calendar. Just pick a time, and then that'll be blocked off for you, and we'll go over your specifics.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Great. So you guys really made a great session for tonight. You guys asked amazing questions. Kevin did a great job. I think Stephen did a great job earlier. Everybody did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
So I want to invite you back. IGA, we meet once a month. But there's sometimes in December or something we won't meet. So I encourage you to join the next IGA meeting. Everybody, hopefully you got something out of this. And I remind you guys to take care and keep inventing. All right.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, everyone.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.